True Crime Dungeon contains adult content that may be disturbing or too graphic for some audiences. Listener discretion is advised.
Hey everyone, thanks for joining us for another episode of True Crime Dungeon. I'm your host Trace.
And I'm Rain. Welcome to episode 6 of our TCD 10, which is our list of 10 people or events from different categories, such as 10 underage serial killers, or 10 places that draw criminal or paranormal activity.
Today's TCD Top 10 is a list of 10 cases where people help solve their own murders.
Now, I don't know about anyone else, but I don't think I'd have the forethought to incriminate someone when I think I'm about to die.
Well, if I'm going down, I'm taking them with me.
As always, please connect with us on social media. Our handle is @CrimeDungeon on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Our YouTube channel is now up and running, so please check out new episodes posted there. Also, if you'd like to support what we do here at TCD, please become a subscriber at patreon.com/CrimeDungeon.
So let's get started on the 10 cases where people help solve their own murders.
The first case is Cebisile Happiness Khoza.
What a name.
Yeah.
Happiness.
South African teacher Cebisile Happiness Khoza went for a country drive with her boyfriend, who is a fellow school teacher. His name, and I'm probably going to murder it, is Siamamkela Adwa Nampumza. When they stopped alongside an isolated dirt road, Nampumza pulled out a knife and brutally stabbed Khoza 21 times. Then doused her with gasoline and set her on fire.
Wow, that's extreme, isn't it?
Yeah. She died at the scene from 40 to 50% burns all over her body and penetrating stab wounds to both lungs.
Wow. That's like an extreme thing.
That's excessive.
That is excessive. That's very angry.
Yeah.
Like, when people kill people in that manner, where they're stabbing and stabbing and stabbing, they're angry about something.
So after all that, Nampumza left the scene. And he was confident that he wouldn't get caught.
I think everybody has some sort of level of confidence when they just kill somebody.
Yeah.
I'm like, nobody gonna find me. I burned that bitch up. You know?
So he went home, didn't think anything of it, and then filed a missing persons report the next day. He'd even prepared an alibi for the police. He told them that the day of her murder, he dropped her off at a hair salon, then went back home and fell asleep while he was waiting for her. He woke up late, and by the time he got back to the salon, it was already closed. Now, at the time of his questioning, police had no reason to suspect him.
Why would they?
Right. What this guy didn't know was, as his girlfriend lay mortally wounded and while on fire, she was able to scratch the first 3 digits of his phone number into the dirt road. This evidence assisted in the incrimination of Nampumza. Now, although he has never confessed to killing her, authorities...
He probably never will.
No.
I mean, people are... All their life, I'm innocent. I mean, I think every person in prison says I'm innocent. You know? Like, wow, we really got it wrong if we've imprisoned that many people.
Oh, yeah. Something is really wrong.
Right.
Authorities speculate that the motive was jealousy. Now, there was evidence that this woman was involved in a relationship with a man back in her hometown. The judge said that there was a possibility that Nampumza had wanted to prevent her from going back home to see her boyfriend.
Well, that's a good way to prevent her from leaving.
Yeah.
Yeah, just kill her. I don't understand people's common sense and stuff, you know.
He was tried and sentenced to life in prison. Now, the judge on this case said that it was worth emphasizing that this guy almost got away with murder. The reason he set her on fire was to conceal her identity. She was originally from this town called Ladysmith, but she lived and worked in a town named Greytown, which was about 80 miles apart.
Oh, wow.
So, in an area like this is somewhere in South Africa, you're probably not going to know people from other areas.
Right. So she wasn't known in this town. Like, if he would have killed her in her town, they would have known her automatically.
Right. And she was a teacher, but, how effective are their record keeping?
Unless they keep dental records at that point, they're not gonna...
Right. And then on top of that, where he took her on this drive was another 30 miles out. So they were even that far from where
further.
They worked.
Right. Gotcha.
Now, it was sheer luck that the investigating officer from Dalton, which was where she was killed, just so happened to meet up with a police officer from Greytown. And they discussed the case and identified her because she was reported missing.
So he thought that he could get away with murdering her, and in her last-ditch effort, she was not going to allow him to get away with it.
Nope.
See, I wouldn't think of something like that.
Mm-mm.
I would think, motherfucker, I'm on fire.
Right.
You know? That's one of my worst fears is getting burnt like that. And to that degree, it's just horrible.
I mean, if I had the forethought to scratch something in the dirt, I would probably go for a name.
Right. Not a phone number.
Mm-hmm.
Because those numbers could have meant anything. That could have been the combination to her safe.
Right. Now, was it easier to scratch out 3 numbers other than Siamankela Odwa Nampumza? Probably was.
Right. I get you. Right. I'd go with the phone number too. Definitely. What's our next case?
Our next case is the story of a man named Amarjit Chohan. He was an Indian man living with his family in the UK. He owned a company called Seba Freight, and the company was doing pretty well. It was next to the airport, so they would haul freight back and forth and whatnot. And this company basically made him a millionaire. He became the target of a man named Kenneth Reagan. Reagan was a former drug dealer turned informant.
So wait, he is a criminal, yet he's informing for the police.
Right.
Okay.
The story is this guy had something to do with mob connections.
Okay.
He was their drug dealer, their drug runner. He would traffic drugs back and forth.
Gotcha.
But he was so extravagant in his lifestyle that he ended up getting caught.
Well, yeah, most of them do. Like, where is this money coming from? We're going to turn... Like, that's like anybody who suddenly comes up with... They're spending money like it's water.
Yeah.
And the authorities don't have any track of... Or any way to track that money. And where's all this money coming from? And that makes you look, in the Mexican cartel and then the Pablo Escobar, he would bury his money and be very, careful about how he laundered it. Mm-hmm. So that it looked like it was coming in from other businesses, and he started this business and he started that business, and he would take, I think it was that he took produce across the borders and whatnot, and so he looked legitly like he was making money enough to cover the expenses that he was actually, like the big mansion he had, the cars he had, so it looked like he had the money to cover that from his businesses. So he buried billions of dollars, Pablo Escobar. And he had so much money, he didn't even know what to do with it. He couldn't spend it. He made it all and couldn't spend it. Billions that he couldn't even spend. He just buried it in the ground, and 9 times out of 10, the ground destroyed it. Like, the moisture, they would dig up big things of big areas of nothing but money that was, soaked through, that would just fall apart in their hands as they brought it up.
Oh, that's horrible.
That is horrible. I mean, I guess billions of dollars, can you imagine?
So this guy wasn't that smart.
Right.
He had an extravagant house. He had an extravagant car.
Probably with no job.
He would carry around a briefcase full of cash
in
the trunk of his car. And that earned him the nickname Captain Cash.
Well, there you go.
Right. Now, that all came to an end in 1998. He was caught with 55 pounds of raw heroin in his car.
Wow. Raw heroin. Not even chopped yet.
Mm-hmm. He was sent to prison. Now,
How long?
remember...
For how long?
He got out on parole in 4 years because he was an informant.
Right. Gotcha.
After he got out, he couldn't really return to his former lifestyle. I mean, he had narked out all these guys.
Now you're a wanted man.
Now he had to figure out how to get money back because he was missing that money. Missing living that lifestyle.
It's hard to go from living a top lifestyle where you can have anything you want to going to dirt poor again.
Well, he should be used to it. He was in prison for 4 years.
Well, true, but sure he didn't like it.
Right. So he enlisted the help of a man named William Hornsey. This guy Hornsey was a former accountant who had a history of fraud. He used the identities of homeless people to start a passport fraud scheme that made him almost $2 million. Reagan and Hornsey planned to take over Ciba Freight and use it as a front to smuggle drugs. But they made an offer to Amarjit Chohan, but Reagan wasn't able to get the funds together to purchase Ciba. Legitly. Mm-hmm. So they were going to purchase it legitly, and then they were going to use it as a front to launder money. Launder money, smuggle drugs, things like that.
Right. Because it's a freight company.
Yeah.
That would be the best cover.
It's a freight company, not to mention it's a pretty well-known one in that area. It had a history of good business, so it wasn't...
It's legit.
Yeah.
Up and up. Yeah. So I guess when you have a business that's up and up, nobody really turns an eye to it to go, oh, I bet they're smuggling drugs.
Right.
Because they know the people, they know the company as being straight.
Right.
Yeah, that's a good that's a good front.
Right. But when they couldn't get this money together to buy it, they decided to take it by force. So Kenneth Reagan lured Chohan to a meeting at Stonehenge. Allegedly, he was there to broker a meeting between Chohan and a potential buyer for Ciba. When Chohan got there, he was abducted by Reagan and Hornsey and forced to sign several pieces of blank paper, on which they would later type fake letters from him so that it would give them power of attorney to take over the company. They also made him record several pre-written messages to the company, to the family, and whatnot. So they had things pretty planned out. So what they said...
But doesn't that look suspicious? I'm leaving my business to... or giving my business with no money whatsoever coming to me. This business that I worked hard for. I'm just going to give it to these guys. Not my family.
Well, they wanted to make it look like he had fallen out with business associates and fled the country to avoid them and potential attacks or fraud repercussions.
Right.
Now, to do that, that means that not only Chohan had to disappear, but his family had to as well. So, Ciba staff was informed of the takeover when Reagan turned up at the office, brandishing this power of attorney. So that's how they found out. He came in with a paper like, hey, I own this. When Amarjit's wife, Nancy, called Ciba after not hearing from him in a few days, she was told that he had flown to Holland. But she knew that wasn't right because his passport was still in the office at home.
Right, if you're going to fly out of the country, you're going to take your passport, or they won't let you go.
Mm-hmm. And she was also suspicious because she was sent this recording of him saying that he couldn't take it anymore, that he was leaving and all this other stuff. But she became suspicious because they speak Punjabi to each other. They're Indian.
Mm-hmm.
And the recording was in English.
So they could know what he was saying, so they could tell what he was saying.
Well, they probably had it all written out in English.
Right.
So he read it, but to her...
It didn't make sense.
Right.
Right.
Now, like I said, to make this story plausible, the family had to disappear. So the next day, Nancy, her and Amarjit's 2 sons, Ravinder, who was 8 weeks old, and Devinder, who was 18 months old, and her mother... visiting from India, went missing. Staff at Ciba had received typewritten letters signed by him saying that he had had enough of England. He was taking his family back to India. And they became suspicious because everything was typewritten. And he was old school. He liked to write things out in his own hand. So these people are already fucking up.
Right.
The family was killed, buried for a little while, and then they were redug up and eventually transported and then dumped at sea. The bodies of Amarjit and Nancy Chohan and her mother were recovered from the sea some months later. Post-mortem reports revealed that Amarjit had been drugged and possibly strangled, and his wife's skull was smashed in with a hammer.
Yes.
Her mother's body was too badly decomposed to provide any conclusive information. The bodies of the two babies were never found.
They were probably shark snack.
Now, this man, he was sneaky. While authorities were performing an autopsy, they found a scrap of paper hidden inside his sock. It had been folded over and over and over again, and so that it was very small, so that the water wouldn't penetrate the paper and mess with the ink. On this piece of paper was the name of Kenneth Reagan and the address of his father's home, where he had been held captive.
Wow. So he just told on them based way after he had died.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that does make sense,
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's how this guy was found out. A letter in a sock.
But if the letter in the sock would have never been found, that business would have belonged to him?
Probably.
Wow. So he could have got away with it had he just checked the socks.
Yeah.
That's why you take their clothes away and burn them. Come on, people. This is not, the first time around.
Future killers, take note.
Right.
Take your victims' clothes. If you're gonna burn them, stay there till they die.
Right.
Okay. Our third story is about a man named Simon Ng. Simon was an 18-year-old college student who turned to blogging as a release from the realities of life.
A lot of people do that.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
He was lonely and dissatisfied. He was an immigrant from Hong Kong, so he didn't feel like...
That describes half of the Twitch users. Like they're immigrants from some other country. They don't really know how to integrate themselves into this country. It's like, that's kind of how I see it. You see all these people on Twitch or YouTube.
Not just on Twitch. I mean, I feel like the internet is this place where people of all walks of life can go and kind of be on the same level.
Yeah. Regardless of how much...
It's not about your race. It's not about how you speak. I mean, practically typing to people unless you're voice chatting or video chatting or whatever. So it kind of evens the playing ground.
Right.
A little. So this kid, 18-year-old college student from Hong Kong living in New York City, he turned to blogging to record the struggles of his life. He and his sister were basically abandoned in this country by their parents, who had left to go back home to Hong Kong, left the two of them there.
So they just move here and leave them and then go back?
They probably came there on a tourist visa or some kind of visa and had to go home and, left the two of them there because they figured they would have a better life. I don't know the story.
Yeah.
Sounds plausible.
I would never leave my kids. I would never go to Hong Kong and leave my kids there.
Yeah.
And come back to the United States.
Right. So because these two teenagers were basically left alone, they were always working, trying to make money, going to school. So they really didn't see each other. So Simon had all this extra time to throw himself into this online world. Now, on Thursday, May 12th, 2005, he sat at home and blogged throughout the day, as was his usual habit. He was homesick that day. He had missed school. His doorbell rang. He got up to go answer it, let the person in, and then sat back at his computer and continued doing what he was doing. So this was his blog. Today I missed my Japanese class again. since I've gotten a bad throat. I only went to class once this week, so I'm probably so far behind now. I will catch up in the summer though, so no worries. Hee hee. Anyway, today has been weird. At 3, some guy rang the bell. I went down and recognized it was my sister's former boyfriend. He told me he wants to get his fishing poles back. I told him to wait downstairs while I get them for him. While I was searching for them, he is already in the house. He is still here right now, smoking, walking all around the house with his shoes on, which, by the way, I just washed the floor 2 days ago. Hopefully he will leave soon. Oh yeah, working on the JAP report as we speak.
So he just told about his...
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
So the man he's talking about is Jin Lin, who is his sister Sharon's ex-boyfriend. Simon made that entry at 5:05 p.m. Now, this guy Jin stayed there that entire time. Because he made some excuse or another. He needed this, he needed that. He was just going to wait for her to come home. Whatever.
Mm-hmm.
When Sharon came home at around 9:30, Jin stabbed her and Simon nearly 5 dozen times in the neck and body.
Now that's some angry killing.
Yeah. Jin stabbed Simon repeatedly in the chest and neck with a butcher knife. Simon was bound with duct tape and masking tape while Lin, according to his confession, searched the apartment for cash. He found little to nothing of value.
Well, yeah.
Yeah. Simon died in the apartment. Sharon died an hour later in the hospital. Although Lin denied any wrongdoing, he confessed once the police found Simon's blog.
Well, yeah, I wouldn't confess before they had any evidence.
Yeah.
Right.
So, Lin said he was trying to find money to buy a plane ticket back to Hong Kong, where he was also born. In 2008, which was...
So this was recently. I mean, really, like in the next...
last 10 years or so.
Yeah, 15, yeah.
So in 2008, which was 3 years after this happened, Jin Lin was convicted of murder and sentenced to life in prison without parole.
That's stupid. Did they ever say why he killed them, other than the fact that he was just looking for money? Because he waited there purposely for her.
Yeah.
If he was just looking for money, he could have killed him. And
They probably had something to do with her, too.
right.
Because, I mean, Simon
Their
purposefully
exes-
wrote in his blog that this was his sister's ex-boyfriend.
Right. Right. Like I was just getting ready to say, they're exes for a reason.
Mm-hmm. And, I mean, if you think about it, Simon and his sister... They're probably both students. They probably both work. Chances are they're not going to have a lot of money.
Right.
So why would you go there? Looking for money.
He wasn't there looking for money. He was there to kill her. And he happened to be there.
Yep.
Because I doubt he would have waited around if he wasn't there.
Right.
For him.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Our fourth story is a man named Russ Stager. High school basketball coach Russ Stager died in his bed after being shot in the head by a gun his wife, Barbara, kept under her pillow.
I don't know why I think that's funny. Go ahead.
Now, according to Barbara, this gun went off by accident.
Oh, I'm sure it did. I'm sure it did.
But Russ suspected 4 months prior that his wife might be up to something.
So if you're suspected it, why would you lay next to her with a gun under the pillow? Screw that.
Know.
Screw that. No fucking way. So go on.
So because he was suspicious, he started documenting things that he saw that were going on. A recording made 3 days prior to his murder was discovered by a student in one of the locker rooms at the school.
Okay.
So probably, he's a basketball coach, so it's probably one of the gym lockers or whatever. And that recording revealed a number of disturbing facts. Russell detailed his wife's debt and her infidelities, but he also documented what he described as his wife waking him in the early morning to give him sleeping pills. So this is his quote. The last few nights during sleep, Barbara has woke me up to give me some kind of medication, which I have not taken. Last night she woke me up and gave me what she said was 2 aspirins. This was like 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning. She stood there to see if I took it. I did not take it.
So, if somebody's sleeping, why are you waking them up to give them things?
That's what he says. He says that he had these pills analyzed, and they weren't aspirin, they were sleeping pills.
But then again, why wake somebody up to give them sleeping pills?
So that's basically like, now, if I was already asleep at 4:30 in the morning, why would somebody wake me up to give me 2 sleeping pills?
Right. Fuck that. I'd be like, get out of here, bitch. You're gonna kill me. I know it.
As the investigation continued, Russell's previous wife revealed that he had come to her a few days prior concerned for his safety. Quote, he said, "I know it sounds crazy, but if anything ever happens to me, I want you to look into it." That's what his former wife testified. When police did look into it, they were stunned to discover that 10 years earlier, Barbara's first husband was shot to death in bed. His death was considered an accident at the time, but authorities have now reopened the investigation, seeing as how this is husband number 2 accidentally shot in bed with a gun she keeps under her pillow. The jury deliberated Barbara Stager's fate for 43 minutes before convicting her of murder. She was sentenced to death.
Well, good. I mean, 43 minutes, man, they knew it. Like, he set that shit up, so she was gonna go down.
Oh, yeah.
But the thing is why would you still be there when you have all these suspicions? You know, she's waking you up in the middle of the night giving you pills. Dude, go live with your sister. Or your ex-wife. Or stay on the couch. Rent a motel room. Do something. Get the fuck away from this woman. I mean, come on.
That's a little much. Like, if you're going out of your way to document everything, you know some shit's
gonna go down. Exactly. So,
like, the only time you document things is, 1, you know you're gonna need it in court.
Right.
2, you know you're gonna need evidence. Yes. Or 3, shit's gonna go down, and it's just too late for you, so you're informing the next person.
Right. Right. That's right. If I was ever part of some crime syndicate, I would have information in a safe that if anything ever happened to me would incriminate everybody. Like, I mean, details about this and that, recordings of people's voices, and I don't give a shit. Like, if I'm gonna die, I am definitely prepared to take people with me. That's just it.
Yeah.
Yeah. If I thought for a minute that you were going to kill me in my sleep or otherwise...
I've tried to kill you before.
No, you haven't.
I tried to OD you.
Well, that was on accident. That's not like... Yes! Talking about bitches waking people up to give them medication. You. See? I should have been suspicious. But I was too drugged up to be suspicious. It was an accident, honestly. She was trying to be a good nurse.
Yeah.
And ended up being a very bad nurse.
Yeah. I followed the directions.
Right. But poor people get medications in big quantities because it's cheaper. If I buy 90 of these to break in half, you know, if I buy a 90-day supply, it's $9. But if I buy a 30-day supply, it's $50. Now, how in the hell does that work? So when you're buying your own medication, the doctors seem to want to help you out. Like, I'll give you this big dose and you just crack them in half. And you are... I mean, they can't really say that on the bottle, can they?
No, but I...
But then again, I didn't give you the directions either.
You did, but I thought you were lying.
What the hell? Okay. So our next story.
Our next story is about Karen Perez.
Who's Karen? Sorry, go ahead.
Okay.
Go ahead.
So, Karen was 15 years old and had just completed her first year of high school.
Okay. So she's
this
a freshman.
Was back last year, a year ago.
Okay.
That same month, she went missing. Initially, her family, community, and even her boyfriend helped search for her and spread the word of her disappearance.
Wait, the way you said boyfriend, he killed her, didn't he?
He totally killed her.
The way you said it, I knew it.
Boyfriend.
Even her boyfriend.
That's the people you check. Boyfriend, spouse.
Yes, number 1.
Parent.
Number 2. Children.
Side chick.
Side chick. Definitely. Them bitches are crazy.
Yeah. Employee.
Right. And then you go to the stranger route. Right. So, I'm sorry, go ahead. I'll stop interrupting.
Rumor had it that she was last seen at her boyfriend's home. Within days, her body was found partially nude and crammed into a cabinet under a sink in an empty apartment in Houston.
Houston, Texas.
Yeah. Now, even though she seemed helpless in death, I mean, she's stuffed in a freaking cabinet in an abandoned house. You know?
But was she dead when she was stuffed in there? Oh, I see.
The day of her death, she had pretty much documented who was responsible for it.
Again!
Her boyfriend. So,
if you think somebody's gonna kill you enough to be doing the stupid shit... Okay, go ahead, sorry.
So, Perez left texts on her cell phone and her boyfriend's cell phone that clarified what happened to her. The text messages revealed that her boyfriend demanded she skip school the day that she disappeared and meet him at a local tennis court. His messages even came with a threat. His final text stating that if she refused to meet him, he would kill her and that her life would, quote, end on bloods. End on bloods.
End on bloods.
Yeah.
That don't even make sense.
More incriminating evidence was found on the boyfriend's phone, including audio that preserved Perez's last moments alive. Police listening to the audio could hear the boyfriend demanding Perez have sex with him, even calling her by name. She refused him, and then he began choking her. Perez cried out, "I don't want to die," towards the end of the recording. And the recording was a recording of her basically being raped and murdered and suffocated. Right. Court documents state when Karen initially went missing, her family asked police to go to the boyfriend's house. The boyfriend was very cooperative at the beginning. He even asked his father to drive him around in search of her. But after a while, he started to feel guilty and told his father to take him home because it was no point, she wasn't alive.
Wow.
His dad, after that, called the cops and turned him in.
Oh, yeah. Sadly, I wouldn't.
You wouldn't call the cops?
If Dally just told me she killed somebody, I'd be like, okay, where's the body? We have to get rid of this shit. Because I would not want to lose my kids. Of course I would be fighting with
but here's the difference. If Dally said, I killed someone in self-defense, or they tried to do this to me and I did this, that's one thing.
Right, that's true.
But if Dally said, I called this person up and they met me and I forced them to have sex with me while strangling them and then I bashed them over the head and stuck them in a cabinet.
I'd be like, we gotta see your counselor.
Are you taking your medication?
Are you taking your medication, honey? Because this sounds like you're manic. Okay? Because, like, really, you can find people that want to have sex with you in your life. You will find those people that will actually do it willingly.
It doesn't always have to end on bloods.
It doesn't always have to end on bloods. This is so sick, we're making a joke out of this. Okay, let's get serious now.
Okay, so he was charged with murder and taken to juvie for prosecution. Or juvenile court for prosecution.
Well, I'm sure he was taken to juvie too.
Yeah.
So our next case is Ashley Howley.
After calling police to report a break-in at her Columbus, Ohio apartment, 20-year-old Ashley Howley went missing. Her car was discovered abandoned in a parking lot nearby, but the case went cold for more than a year with little evidence leading the police to her body or the killer.
Mm-hmm.
Then, one night, not far from Howley's family home in Michigan, a woman named Christy Robinette was awakened by the ghost of a young woman.
Oh.
Who called herself Ashley and claimed to have been murdered. Dun, dun, dun.
No.
Okay.
Donna. Sorry.
Now, it wasn't unheard of for a restless soul to make its appearance known to Robinette because she's a psychic medium.
Okay.
And she had communicated with the dead since childhood and had been called upon by law enforcement to aid investigation. What made this time different was that it was the ghost rather than the police enlisting her services. It led her to begin searching for a missing girl in her 20s with blonde hair on the internet. Now, I don't know why she would say Ashley and not say Ashley Howley from Columbus, Ohio. Whatever. I don't know how this
medium thing works.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would be like, if I was dead and I was coming back to get my killer, I would be like, listen, my name is this. I live at this address. These are my family members. Here's their phone numbers.
I would be like,
you got a pen, bitch?
I would be like, Bill
notes.
Gates killed me. I want to sue.
Get money for my family.
So
here we are making a joke of shit again.
Well, it's a psychic medium.
True. I don't. Sometimes I just don't believe in that shit.
So finally, after she searched for this person online, she came across Ashley Howley and knew immediately that was her. She contacted police and provided information such as a description of Howley's clothes. Police put Robinette in contact with Howley's family, and they began investigating with and without police. Robinette says Howley, who was a stripper in Ohio, wanted her remains to be found so that she could be put to rest and so her family could find closure. Howley visited Robinette fairly regularly throughout the next few years and presented images of light-colored pines where her body was. Robinette said she took a trip to Columbus with a relative of Howley's. They were stopped by a park ranger where they were looking. No light-colored pines were in the area, but he knew where some were. They found the right spot. Robinette said she could feel it, but authorities wouldn't dig because it was on private property.
Right.
She said it was about 2 more years when Ashley's boyfriend, Robert McMichael, was arrested for 2 separate murders. The murder of his mother and her boyfriend, that he was offered a plea deal and revealed the location of Howley's remains, which was right where Robinette had shown officials years earlier. McMichael was sentenced to 15 years to life in prison for Howley's murder, and he was also sentenced to 2 terms of life in prison for the aggravated murders of his mother and her boyfriend. So what I find interesting about this is this girl wouldn't have been found at all had he not confessed.
Right. See, and I think that in cases like this, if you have, and here we go back to the Jimmy Heisel story, where if you have suspicion that there's a body on a property and it's private property, you just cannot dig there.
Yeah.
You just can't go get a shovel, start tearing up people's property. Now, if it was me and somebody came onto our property and said, before your house was built here, there was woods, and I think that there's a body buried over here on the east end of your property, can we look? Hell yeah, as long as you put the dirt back.
Yeah.
Look!
I mean, the situations are fairly similar.
Right.
Even though, this is a psychic medium case. But if you think about it, you have 2 people who are told about the whereabouts of a body by someone else. Now, in Jimmy's case, it was by his wife.
Right.
In this case, it was by a spirit.
Right.
So you have this person claiming that they were given this information about a body that may or may not be on this property.
But if it was me, and somebody said...
Yeah, but you don't know. That might have been his property. He's not going to let them dig.
Right. But if it was me and somebody said, I think that my daughter is buried on your property, I would be like, by all means, bring in a backhoe. I'll help you dig. Because I wouldn't want that family to have closure.
Yeah.
If it was a wild goose chase, so what?
I know.
What are you losing? So your fucking yard is tore up for a month or 2.
Yeah.
Who gives a shit?
I would be like, dig. Don't mind those 2 cats buried along
Yeah,
the
if
tree
you find
line.
some bones, that's our pet cemetery back there. We have lost a couple cats in the road out here. And one got ran over in our driveway, but hey.
By Shauna.
But don't mind those. So, we didn't kill anything. None of our kids torture animals. They just legitly got killed. Okay? So, yeah, I think I would do anything that I could to help a family find closure.
Yeah.
if it was me and my property. So I don't know if they try to contact the property owner to see if they could dig there, or...
I couldn't find that information, but considering the process took 2 years, and the only reason they looked there was because he confessed, that means either they couldn't get permission to dig, or it was a big property they didn't know where to dig.
Right. Gotcha. Yeah, definitely. I would, if I had lost my daughter, and I don't care how corny it was, I'd walk up there and be like, listen, our family has not had closure. I mean, look at this Burns family in this recent case.
Yeah.
That lady, Rebecca Heisel, actually offered for their family to come there when it was being dug up, so they could see that their daughter wasn't there. And if I was the Burns family, I would take her up on that offer. I'd be like, if my daughter's found here, I'm gonna punch you in your fucking face. I want to be close enough to punch you in your fucking face. They would arrest me if my daughter's body was found there.
I think those guys wouldn't have arrested anybody. They'd have just been like, look, I'm gonna walk over here for 10 minutes and then I'll come back. You
just take care of it. Right. Right.
Our 7th story involves a woman named Elva Zona Heaster Shue and her husband, Erasmus Edward Stribling Trout Shue. Elva thought she had found true love when she met Erasmus, though her mother objected their relationship within 2 weeks. They were married.
Wow, that's quick.
Yeah.
Really quick, actually.
Yeah. Things seemed to be going fine for the newlyweds until one day in 1897, Zona was discovered dead in her home. After discovering her body in his home, her husband set about readying the body to be interred, paying extra attention to her neck and the scarf he wrapped around it. He said it was Elva's favorite. Elva's mother, Mary Jane, never cared for Erasmus and was convinced he played a part in her daughter's death. Then, in 4 separate dreams, Mary Jane says that Elva's ghost visited her and told her how Shue broke her neck. Mary Jane took this ethereal evidence to the town prosecutor, who miraculously ordered another autopsy.
So he believed her?
Yeah, he believed her. I mean, this is 1897. Anything...
I'd be afraid that I would be thought of as a witch.
Right. Ugh.
It's like sink or swim with these iron shoes on.
Right. This was in West Virginia. So, as it turns out, Elva's neck was heavily bruised and her windpipe was crushed.
So he choked her.
Yep. Authorities then began investigating Shue's past and discovered his previous 2 marriages. The first ended during one of his prison sentences. The second died after only 8 months from mysterious circumstances. Old associates of Shue revealed his desire to marry 7 different times. All of this background information, along with Mary Jane's ghostly testimony, finally brought the law down on him, and he was convicted and sentenced to life in prison. A sign in Greenbrier County, West Virginia still stands there and reads, "This is the only case in which testimony from a ghost helped convict a murderer."
Well, that's cool, though. I think our loved ones do visit us through dreams.
Yeah.
I've had a few dreams like that. Like not where they tell me the combination of their safe.
Right.
But I've had dreams where I've seen my family, and I thought maybe it's just a projection of me missing them or something like that.
Yeah.
But this lady went above and beyond, I guess.
Oh, yeah. Now, this next story is even weirder. Our 8th story is about a woman named Teresita Basa. On February 21st, 1977, the Chicago Fire Department rushed to a burning apartment building. After they put out the fire, it was quickly discovered that the fire originated from the apartment of Teresita Basa, who was a 47-year-old respiratory therapist of a nearby hospital. Her badly burned, naked, and stabbed body was found under her burnt mattress. What had started out as a fire call ended up to be a murder investigation.
Right.
But after a couple of months, the case went cold. During this time, a man named Dr. Jose Chua was involved in something very strange with his wife. He contacted police and told them that his wife, Remy, was possessed by Teresita Basa.
So he's saying that Teresita basically invaded his wife's body.
Yeah.
Now, does this guy know her?
Nope.
Oh, I see. Okay. So just out of the blue.
Yeah.
Okay, so go on.
Dr. Chua stated that his wife would go into a trance-like, almost comatose type of state, and during these episodes, she would claim to be the spirit of Teresita Basa. The spirit said it needed help in solving the murder, and that the murder's name was Alan Shue. Wow, she dropped a name.
She dropped a name.
The spirit also stated that Shue went to the apartment of Teresita in order to fix the television set, and that Shue had stolen jewelry from Teresita's apartment, and that the jewelry was purchased in France as a gift from Teresita's father to her mother. The spirit also stated that Shue gave this stolen jewelry to his girlfriend. That's a lot of information for a possessed spirit.
That is. That really is.
Unbelievably, there was an orderly named Alan Shue who worked at the Edgewater Hospital with Teresita. The detectives thought it was worth a shot and initially went to Shue's apartment where he lived with his girlfriend. They asked Shue to voluntarily accompany them to the police department because they thought he could help in the investigation. Shue agreed to go while his girlfriend stayed at the apartment. While at the police station, detectives caught Shue in a number of lies, one of which where he stated that he went to Teresita's apartment the night of the murder to fix her television, but that she had called him to cancel, so he went home to fix an electrical problem. The detectives tried to corroborate his story with his girlfriend. She stated that she didn't know about any electrical problem, and that Shue didn't even know how to fix electrical problems. So why would he come home to fix something he didn't know
How to fix?
So the police asked her if Shue had given her any jewelry lately, and she stated that the pendant and the rings she were wearing were a late Christmas gift from him.
So it was Teresita's stuff she was wearing.
Yep.
Wow.
The pieces of jewelry were positively identified as having been Teresita's. So under the pressure of the new developments, he caved and gave a full confession. He was sentenced to 14 years for the murder and 4 years each for aggravated arson and robbery. He was released in 1983 after only serving less than 5 years.
See, I don't understand that.
I don't either.
I'm going to brutally murder somebody and
set
them on
the
fire.
whole apartment on fire. The whole
That would be
apartment building.
arson, murder. I mean, you would have multiple cases there.
Yeah. As we said, 14 years for murder, 4 years each for aggravated arson and aggravated robbery. So, that's 22 years.
And you got out in 5.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
So what do you think about this? Do you think that it was actually a possessed spirit, or that she knew something?
Well, if
this
how would
Remy
this lady
Chua-
who doesn't even know her, or this man who doesn't even know her, know that?
Right.
They don't know him either.
Especially about the jewelry.
Yeah, especially about the jewelry. People's jewelry, there's a story behind, usually. Especially things that mean something. And so, that's something that identifies that person. Like if somebody found a body and they said, oh, well, I found this ring on this body. You would know automatically that it was my body.
Yeah.
Because you know the story of my ring. You know that this belongs to me and I've always worn it.
Yeah.
Now, unless you know somebody personally, you don't know the jewelry that they wear on a daily basis.
Right.
That means
and even
something
if
to them.
you knew them personally as a friend or a coworker or someone who lives in the same building, you wouldn't know them.
Yeah, how often are you going to look at their hand or their unless they just got engaged and they're showing their ring around or they just got married and put a wedding band on, you would not know their jewelry.
Right.
So, definitely, I think that it's possible. I think anything in this world is possible. I think that people live in this realm of what they see is the only thing that exists.
Yeah.
But this world is bigger with so much more unexplained things that happen in it. And because people are weighed down by religion, their mind is blocked by their own philosophies. They can't open up to it.
Yeah.
So I believe anything is possible. I believe it sometimes I don't. Because there's a lot of people that try to make $1 off of it. You know.
Our next story is about Vanessa Marcotte. Now, Vanessa was an up-and-coming accounts manager at Google. She was living in New York City at the time, but was in Massachusetts visiting her mother.
I would love to work for Google.
Yeah.
You see those nap pods and all the cool
You don't
stuff?
work for Google just for the nap pods.
I would. I don't nap, but I would go in there and
You
just
totally
be like,
nap.
I do not nap.
Uh-huh.
I don't nap.
You do.
The other day you said, let's go nap, and we were out for 12 hours. I'm
That's
just
true.
going to take a nap. We don't nap.
Well, that's the only way I can get you to lay down with me, is to say nap.
True.
Because then if I say, baby, I want to go to sleep, you're going to be like,
We're off
lay
subject,
there.
so let's get back to Vanessa.
Right, sorry. So, she was visiting her mother in Massachusetts. She went for a jog.
You never jog. It's like these people. What is wrong with them? Why do you jog?
People jog.
But fucking joggers find dead bodies. Joggers get to be dead bodies. I mean, don't they watch movies? Don't they listen to the news? It's all the joggers.
This is a public service announcement from True Crime Dungeon. Please do not jog. We are afraid for your life. Please be fat and happy. Thank you.
Let's move on.
Okay.
Don't jog.
She was jogging.
That's a sign right there. You're gonna die.
And while she was out jogging, she was attacked, raped, and murdered. She was found dead in a remote, heavily wooded area about a half-mile from her mother's home.
Probably where she was jogging. Let's jog through the woods here, where nobody can see me if something bad happens. Common sense, motherfuckers! God damn. Go on. So her mother.
Vanessa was found nude and had burns to her head, hands, and feet.
Okay.
Police had no clues except for discovering that Vanessa had fought her attacker when they put out a report of her being found and to keep a lookout for someone suspicious. They actually said that this man's probably going to have scratches and bruises all over his face because she fought hard. Experts were able to extract the killer's DNA from beneath her fingernails.
Fingernails, right. That's common. I mean, that's one of the first things they do when they find a dead body is they swab out everything in under the nail and put it into, right?
Tests were conducted and police were able to build a DNA profile that they could release to the public. Detectives described the person of interest as a Hispanic man with an athletic build and average height. He had a shaved head or short hair and is about 30 years old.
Now, how'd they get that from DNA? A shaved head? Come on!
It was probably compiled with witness I don't know. Maybe it's in your DNA that you have a shaved head.
No fucking way. I'm not a scientist, and I'm not smart by any means. But come on, a shaved head?
This is the profile they gave.
Okay.
So, an alert Massachusetts State Police trooper spotted a dark color SUV matching the description of the one witnesses saw near the crime scene and wrote the license plate down. The trooper, identified as Robert Parr, went to the suspect's apartment and left his card, asking for a return phone call that was never made. Trooper Parr, who was assigned to the district attorney's office, then went back to the apartment the next day, and Angelo Colon Ortiz voluntarily gave a buccal swab for his DNA.
Did he have a shaved head?
Yes, he did.
He did?
He had a shaved head, and he was an Hispanic or Latino man around 30 years old.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
That is amazing.
DNA is amazing.
It is. It really is.
The match to the DNA obtained from Vanessa's hand to the swab from Colon Ortiz was confirmed. Now, the probability that the suspect is a DNA match for the sample found on Vanessa Marcotte is 1 in 108 quintillion.
So there's another murderer walking around in China. Stop it! Stop. Okay. Quintillion.
Angel Colon Ortiz was arrested and charged with aggravated battery, aggravated assault, and assault with intent to rape and murder.
Right. So did he get the death sentence? Did he get...
I don't know.
You don't know.
We should check his DNA.
I bet his DNA says... We gotta stop. Okay. So, again, no jogging. Joggers find dead bodies. Joggers become dead bodies.
If you're gonna jog, make sure you have...
A rape whistle.
Fake nails.
A stun gun.
Long fake nails that you can use as talons to get DNA samples from shaved head people.
Alien people. Like,
Okay, so rape whistle.
Stun gun.
Stun gun.
Your identification. Put it in your butt.
Keister.
Keister your ID. Just saying. Keister it, because they're trying to burn your shit up. That's why they burn her hands and her feet and her head.
Yeah.
Was to burn off all her identification factors, other than the fact that, hello, her teeth are still there.
Yeah. I'm gonna start getting tattoos on my body of my fingerprints. And, like, my teeth sample, like, my teeth.
Just put it in, impression. See, my problem would be, if I was ever murdered and they set me on fire, my teeth would melt.
Yeah.
Because I have false teeth.
Mm-hmm.
So they would be completely gone. I would just be another... They'd probably think I was 80 or something. But they got my DNA, so they know I had false teeth.
That's true.
That's true.
Yeah.
Right? They would know.
They would know.
Now let's move on.
Okay. Our last story is about a man named Alexander Litvinenko, who was a former Russian intelligence expert who carried certain information and secrets with him to London after he left. Now, he thought he had escaped the clutches of the Putin regime, and now that he was in the UK and he felt like he was safe, he welcomed a visit from a couple of former colleagues, Andrei Lugovoy and Dmitry Kovtun, who met him for tea at a local cafe. Litvinenko was, of course, highly trained in observation of people and things around him.
Hypervigilant.
Right.
Yes.
So, when he was taken exceedingly ill after he had tea with his old friends, he became suspicious. So he went through his memory of what he saw, the experience that he had. He remembered that there was a certain pot from which only he had poured into his cup.
So they had created a couple pots to get from, making sure he would be the one to reach for that.
Yeah.
Or it was poured for him.
Right.
Correct.
He realized he was poisoned and informed police of the situation. While Litvinenko suffered and lingered in agonizing pain for weeks before passing, authorities searched and conducted tests on nearly every bit of crockery in the cafe where he'd taken the poison. His colleagues, of course, had long vanished.
Oh, of course. They're not going to stick around.
Right. One particular teapot in the cafe answered the question as to whether or not the poisoning had occurred and by what specific means.
Well, what kind of poison was it? Did they say?
Mm-hmm. Police discovered the poison was the radioactive and fast-acting polonium. There was enough of polonium in the teapot spout alone to kill several people. Unknowingly, the cafe staff had put the used teapot into the dishwasher and had served it up to customers.
So now they're serving customers with the same pot, and it's highly potent.
It's like a radioactive...
Right.
I mean, polonium sounds pretty close to uranium, which is...
You're just like, don't even know.
I don't even know, but it sounds...
You don't know chemistry at all, and you're just like, it sounds. It's in the same... Neums.
Neums are very...
The neum.
Yeah. And the teapot spout.
That would be oniums.
No.
Not neums.
Uranium.
Plutonium.
Uranium. Polonium.
Neums.
Plutonium.
Right. Well, whatever it is, it was radioactive, and so did anyone else get sick, or you don't know? Yeah, because I would think the guy that was pouring would be, would have radiation effect.
They went to the hotel room that they were staying in, and that whole hotel room had traces of radiation.
Wow. How do you get rid of radiation? See, I'm not a scientist, so I don't know anything like that. How do you get rid of radiation?
I think it just has to die down.
Really?
I
don't know.
I don't think you can get rid of it. I don't know.
Wow. It would be very interesting to do some research into this case to see if anyone got sick from that, or to see if anybody got cancer from serving a pot of plutonium. Was it plutonium? Polonium.
So his super spy senses...
But didn't help him, he still...
Well, I mean, all of these people died, but he, for whatever reason, remembered that he had only been served from this one particular pot. So that had to be...
So he was able to give the report.
Yeah. He wrote a whole report and handed it over.
Wow.
And he died, but...
Oh, yeah, but
he died painfully and
I'm
slowly.
sure he did. That much ingestion of that much radiation.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, shit. That would kill you. It would eat your insides out.
He lost all his hair. He looked like a chemo patient, but...
Wow. That's amazing. So, we're going to end this episode here. And I apologize to any Russian people that are listening that know how to speak your language. Because we do not, and I'm not very good with last names or any words, Russian words. And I don't know if Rain pronounced it correctly.
I think I'm pretty close.
She's probably pretty close, yeah, because she gets different languages. I do not. So we apologize about that. We hope you guys enjoyed the show. If you have any more information about the cases that we shared, we would love to hear from you guys. And comment on our social media. Remember, @Crime Dungeon on almost everything. We'll see you in the next episode.
Yeah, thanks for joining us.
Bye, guys.
Bye.